If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell so you never miss out when I upload a brand new video. So there's only a couple of things left to do now in the shop. We've got to code it so that if the player accidentally resets while they're in the shop, we reset everything for when they respawn. We need to open up the shop whenever you walk up to the shopkeeper. Then we're going to have to code an event when you reset so that you can get your tools back. And then we're going to have to work on the saving of your items. So what we're going to work on first is we're going to work on the player reset event. We've got this remote event called player reset. So let's go back into our local script here. And at the bottom, what we're going to do is we're going to just create one last event on the client. And that's going to be called, we're going to say just replicated storage dot player reset connect, dot on. So player reset dot on client event connect function. Now we're going to be firing this from the server when they reset, and we're just going to be doing the same thing as we did with the exit button. Really, we're going to be setting the shop frame visibility, so visible to false. We're going to be setting the current box value to 0. We're going to be setting the shop frame, the model name value to 0 as well. We're then just going to set the forward and backward buttons to enabled color. So we can say shop frame dot forward. In fact, I think we have a variable for forward. Yep. So we can just say forward dot image color 3 equals the enabled button color, and the back button dot image color 3 equals enabled button color. And then we just need to set the camera type back to custom, the camera subject back to the player's humanoid, so player.character.humanoid, and we need to set their in-shop value back to false. So there we go. If they reset when they're in the shop, hopefully everything should be all good. So let's test this out. So they're in the shop, say they buy something, and they reset. Oof. Then what's going to happen is once they rejoin, okay, the camera did not go back to normal, but everything else did. So let's have a look if anything's wrong. So nothing seems to be wrong. So let's have a look in the script. Ah yes, of course. Because we haven't actually fired this event yet, it's not going to work. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to go into the saving script, and at the top here, we're going to create a character added event. So we can say player.character added connect function car for the character. You can call this whatever you want. So the car parameter is just their character, okay? So the model which has their humanoid and all their body parts. So when they reset, this is going to run when their player is respawned. So we want to firstly fire off this event. So game.replicatedStorage.player reset fire client. We want to fire this event for that specific player, and we want to set their in-shop value back to false, just in case the event doesn't reset it for some reason. And then we need to make sure that when something has been added to their character, okay, so this is when they join the game as well. If something gets added into their character, so in other words, when a tool gets added, that means that they've equipped a tool. So we're just updating the equipped value to that tool's name. So we can say car.child added, so that's when something's been added, connect function, and then the parameter, the argument here is going to be child. So the child is the object which was added into their character. So if child is a, if it's a tool, then we're going to set the player's equipped value to the child's name. And that's just basically going to update the equipped value. And then we want to give their tool back, because their tool might have been lost if they reset then they'll lose the tool. So we can say if game.serverStorage.tools find first child player wait for child equipped dot value. Then, because remember we need to wait for it to be added into the game because it might not be there, we can just do player wait for child in shop up here as well. So if that tool is a valid member of the tools folder over here, then we're going to want to clone that tool. So we can say local tool to equip. So this is what they're going to equip, equals game.serverStorage.tools and in square brackets player.equip.value, and we can do :clone on this. Then we can say tool to equip.parent equals player wait for child and backpack, and that will give their tool back to them when they reset or rejoin. So we're just going to say give the tool back, like that. So that is the character added event done. If we go and test this out again, everything should reset perfectly when we click on the reset button. Let's open up the shop, buy something, and let's click on reset. So we're just going to die. And we respawn, camera's gone back to us, the GUI's gone away, and everything's back to normal. And we still have our drill, which we equipped. So I've got the better power drill. I'm going to go back into the shop because I don't want this tool anymore. And instead, we're going to get a normal power drill. So we exit the shop, we've been teleported back, and we have got our normal power drill. You can see it's a different tool, looks the same, but it is a completely different tool. So what we need to do now is script it so that when we walk up to our good friend the shopkeeper over here, Nako, we're going to open up the shop, and obviously when we click on the exit button, we'll get teleported back to here, which already works. So only a few things left to do, and then our shop will be perfectly ready. So what we're going to do, we're going to go over to the shopkeeper over here, and there should be a union. Now, whenever the player steps within this boundary, there is going to be a script which detects the hit, and then it's going to fire off the remote event. So you can change this however you want. You can move this, because say if you moved it closer, then the hit would be detected just as you hit the inner part. But if you just put it a little bit closer to the desk here, then the player will have to walk in a little bit before the screen begins to fade. So it gives that nice illusion, as like when you walk into this zone, then you're going to have the shop open up. So you can put it where you want. I'm going to put it a bit close to the desk so that it doesn't trigger right away, and then we're going to insert a script into this union. Okay, and inside the script is where we're going to do the hit detection and open up the shop. So what we're going to do, we're going to define a variable for our event called the close shop. Open shop, because we're opening the shop. We can say local event equals game.replicated storage, and then we can say wait for child open shop, because that's what we trigger when we want to fire the event and open up the shop. We're then going to do a touched event. So script.parent.touched, :connect, function hit, and anything that goes inside this event is going to run or be executed whenever the part or the brick gets touched, and hit is going to be the object which touched the brick. We're going to check to see if the object which hit the brick is actually a real player and it's not just a random object. So we can say if hit.parent : find first child, and then we can say humanoid in quote marks, and game.players and we want to see if they have a player model to make sure that they didn't leave the game. We can say game.players get player from character, and in the brackets we can say hit.parent. Then we know that it's a legitimate player, and what we can do is we can insert our code, which is going to check to see if they're already in the shop. So actually we want to get the player's actual object, so the player where their leader stats and everything else is stored. So we can say local player equals game.players : get player from character it.parent. So this is the player in game.players. We want to check to see if their in-shop value is set to false, which means they're not currently in the shop. If player.inshop.value equals false, then we will allow them to go into the shop. We will set it to true. Player.inshop.value equals true, and then we will fire the event for this client. So we can say event fire client player, just like that. Then we want to set their walk speed to 0, so they can't walk away from the shop area or walk back in to re-trigger this script. So we can say hit.parent.humanoid.walkspeed equals 0, just so that they're bound to the shop and they can't walk away. So they're within that circular or semicircular boundary. So now that that's done, if we go and test this out, we should be able to walk up to Nako88 and he should be able to open up the shop for us. So let's go and run on over. Now I am able to run because I have a plugin which allows me to sprint. I'll leave a list of all my plugins in the description below because they really make Roblox Studio a lot easier. So I'm here, I'm going to walk into the boundary and nothing happens. So let's have a look, see why that does not work, and try and debug it. So we're back in the script. We're just going to do a little bit of testing to see what's wrong here. We're going to print test to actually see if the touched event is running. I'm going to play here and just jump straight in. Okay, so it's printing test. So the touched event is definitely running. Now let's move this test to the if statement to see if that's executing. I don't think it will be for some reason, so that's what we're going to be looking at. And if we just go again, okay, it's printing test, so we know that it's going to be breaking because the if statement, so the if statement is true, but something seems to be breaking here with the get player from character. So let me just move the test further on down to see if it's breaking at this line. Play the game. Back in. Okay, so it's not breaking at this line, so I think the player's in-shop value must be equal to true, because this if statement does not seem to be executing. So let's go into our saving scripts and have a look here. So in-shop is set to false, and it's in the player. Ah, there we go. There's our issue. In-shop is an int value when it should be a bool value. So if you're watching and you've done the same and you've set your in-shop to an int value, it needs to be a bool value, okay? It must be a bool value. It's either true or false. So make sure that you set it to a bool value. And if we go and test this again, hopefully it's going to work. Now if we go over here, there we go, the shop has opened, and you can see we have the ability to buy either the super power drill, or we can buy the better power drill, epic power drill, or the normal one. So we're going to click to buy it. I've got the item, but what if I want to get a different type of drill? I can go back into the shop, and if I try and press the arrow keys to move here, I'm just pressing down on S to move me backwards. So I should be away from the area now. But no, because I stayed in that same position and I got teleported away. So it's all good, it's all working, and my player is freezing when we get into that boundary of the semicircle. So that is the shop opening script all good, all working. So that is another part of the video done, and it's looking more like a shop now. It's looking really good. Just a few more things left to go. Actually, the last thing we have to do is we have to work on data store to save our tools, save our currency, and then this video will be completely finished and you will have your own mining simulator shop. So let's get straight in to the data saving. So to script the saving, what we're going to do, we're going to go into the saving script here, and we're going to make it so that we can save our currency and our equipped value, as well as the tools currently in our player tools folder, so that when we rejoin the game, we can load these in and we will have all of our tools back in our inventory, ready for us to equip in the shop. So the first thing that we're going to do at the top of the saving script, we're going to say local data store equals game :get service data store service, okay, in quote marks. Then we're going to say :get data store, and you can call this data store whatever you like. I'm just going to call mine tools, but if you change it, all of your players' data is going to get lost because it's attributed to that data store name. So I'm calling mine tools because we're saving tools and a few other things, but we'll just keep it at tools. And what we're going to do is we're going to have to create some keys to save this data. So below all of your different values which you've created at the bottom, we're going to want to create two keys. First key is going to be for the tools that we're going to save. So we're going to say local tools equals, and then our key is going to be tools as a string, ... player user ID. So the way data store works is that you have a key for each specific player, and then you write data to that key, and then when they join the game, you can check to see if there's any data attributed to that key, and if there is, you can load it in, and when they leave the game, you can save data to that key. So we're just getting this player's key because it starts off with tools and then it has their unique player ID. And we're going to do the same thing for the equipped value. So local equipped equals equipped ... player user ID. I do have some data store tutorials coming out on my channel soon, so do watch out for those. So we've got our two keys, and now we want to check to see if there's any data for our tools key. So we can say local data equals data store : get async, and then we can put tools in here because that's our key, and local equipped data equals data store : get async, and we can just put equipped in here because that is the key for our equipped data. Now we're going to do the equipped first, so we're going to check to see if there is some data in this key. So we can say if equipped data is not equal to nil, that means if there is some data, then we can just say equipped .value. In fact, this is not going to work because we have a, well, in fact it is going to work. I guess we can just put we could just say equipped key here, because we're defining equipped up here and we're defining another equip. So let's just change this to equipped key, and we can change that here. So equipped data equals data store get async equipped key, and then down here after the then we can say equipped key, so we can say equipped .value equals, and then we can just say equipped data. So we're loading in the what the equipped was last time into the player's current value. So we've loaded in the equipped value. Now we just need to load in their tools into their inventory. So what we're going to say is if data is not equal to nil, so if there's some tools, then what's going to happen is we're going to save the tools as a table, and we can loop through that table and add each tool into their inventory. So what we're going to do is we're going to say for I, tool in pairs data, because that's what we're looping through. I'm going to drop a few lines. And inside of here, what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if that tool is in service in tool models. And if it is, so if it's in the tools folder, then we know it's a real tool. I'm going to clone it into the player's player model folder. So we can say if game.serverstorage.tools find first child tool, then, and inside of this for loop, if the tool is a legitimate tool in the game, we can just clone this tool by saying local tool equals game.serverstorage.tools find first child tool. So we're just getting that tool object, and then we're going to clone it. So local, in fact, we can just say local cloned tool. Local clone tool equals game.serverstorage.tools find first child tool. Clone, we can clone it, and then we can say cloned tool dot parent equals game dot server storage dot tool models, sorry, player tools, and then in square brackets we're going to get their folder, which is called their player name. So we put player.name in square brackets, and then let's have a look. Cloned tool. Oh, we spelled it wrong. Cloned tool. So there we go. We have cloned the tool into the player's player tools folder. In fact, let's just do find first child instead, just in case it has not been created or accidentally gets deleted or something. So there we go. We have cloned the tool into their player tools folder, and we should have successfully loaded the data. Now, if they don't have any data, then we know that there must be a new player, or there might have been some data loss, but usually it's a new player. But what we're going to want to do, we're just going to want to wrap this in a p call in case something goes wrong, this getter sync. So we can say local success an error message equals p call function, like this. P call function, aha. Just like this. So we're wrapping this in a function and as p call, so that if something goes wrong or data stores are down, it won't throw an error and it won't mess up the rest of the script. It will just contain that error, and we can check to see that if success, then print data for the tools was successfully received, or was successfully, so we've got the data, so we can say found. And if it wasn't a success, we can print, or we can warn that there was an error, and then we can say error message. So this just prevents any errors from occurring, which could break the script, maybe if data stores were down. That's why we wrap it in a p call. And we're going to want to do the same thing for our equipped data. We do the same thing, local success error message equals p call function. And we have an end and a closing bracket, and we want to just copy this and paste it below it. Now we're going to want to define equipped data just before this p call. I'm going to set it to nil so that we can update it, and if something went wrong, then we would still have this variable declared, but it would be nil, so we'd know that something went wrong. And we're going to do the same thing for data. We're just going to get rid of this local, and above it we're going to say local data equals nil, so that there's no data yet, but if everything goes well, that data is going to be updated with the current tools table. So we have wrapped our get asyncs in p calls, which should prevent it from erroring, and we have also added an else just in case the data isn't found or if it's a new player. That should be everything done for getting the data. The last thing we need to do is set it up so that when the player leaves the game, we can save their data. So this part is relatively simple. All we need to do is just go outside of this player added event, and at the bottom of our script we're going to say game.players.player removing :connect function, and then we can drop a few lines, make sure that the end with the closing bracket is added in, and then we're going to create a table called tools. This is the table which we're going to save, and what we're going to do is we're going to loop through everything inside our inventory, so in player tools, So for I, comma, object, sorry, tool, not object, although it can be called object if you want, in pairs. And inside of these brackets, we're going to be looping through player tools folder. So we can say game.serverstorage.playerTools, and in square brackets, we can say the player's name. Don't forget to put player as an argument here. Player.name in square brackets, and then we can say get children. Just like that. Then we're going to say do, and inside of this loop, we're just going to add each tool into that table. So we can say table.insert, and then we can say tools, and then comma tool.name. Just like that. So now that we've done that, we just need to set async, so set the data store values for each key. So what we can do is we can say in a p call, local success, error message equals p call function. And inside of this function, we can say data store colon set async. And then we can say tools, because that's our key. Don't forget that actually what we can do is to make the keys a little bit readable, we can add a hyphen after the word in the string, and then we can have our user ID come after that, just so it makes it a little bit easier to read instead of having your data store key looking like this. Sorry, like this. It could look something like this, which is a little bit easier just to see. So up to you, but make sure that you're keeping it the same names when you're setting a sync and getting a sync, else you'll have some data loss. So we're setting the tools, and we just want to pass that tools table. So we're saving this table to the player's data store with a specific key. And then we can do the same things we did earlier. If success, then print data saved. Else, we can print that there was an error. And then we can give that error message. So we're going to do the same thing now. Just copy and paste this. But this time we're going to change tools to equipped. And because that's what we did earlier, we called the data store equipped. That's what our key was called. And then instead of tools, we're just going to give the player's equipped value. So player.equipped.value, just like that. And we're going to copy the same thing again with our success and our error message. And there we go. That's all done. What we can then do is print at the end of this, data successfully saved. And then outside of this player removing, we have to do a bind to close function so that when the last player leaves the game server doesn't shut down immediately, just so we can make sure that everyone's data has been saved, especially if the game shuts down as well. Save everyone's data. So we can say game : bind to close, and then in brackets we can say function, and inside of here we're just going to say for I, player. We're going to loop through each player and kick them so that the data gets saved. For I, player in pairs, game.players : get players, open bracket, close bracket, and close another bracket because we're ending that pairs bracket. Do, drop a line, and then we're going to say if player, then player : kick. And then the message we're going to do, we'll give to them, is that this game is shutting down. And when we've done that, what we can do is outside of the for loop, we can wait for the data to be saved. I'm just going to wait about 10 seconds. You could do a bindable event and wait for that event to be fired when the data is saved, for example. But to keep it simple, we're just going to say for 10 seconds because that should be enough time for the data to be saved. So I think that is everything. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go and take this backdrop here, and I'm just going to go and place it underneath the base plate so we can't see it. But what I'm also going to do, because obviously we can't really see it because it's underneath the base plate, I'm going to go into lighting and set the ambient to quite bright. And then we're going to go up here and I'm going to place a spawn location just next to my shop, next to Nako, so that we can just quickly go in and test. And let's go in and see if this works. I'm going to click on play. And you can see that we do not have any cache. That might be because of the saving and the access. Yes, that's right. Because we need to publish this game first to be able to test the data stores in Roblox Studio. So we're going to go ahead and publish it. So you can click on File, or you can press Alt-P to publish it, and then we'll go into a Roblox game and test this out. Once you've published your game, then you're going to want to make sure that you go to Configure Game by clicking on the 3 dots next to the title, and then you want to check the box next to the text which says Enable API Access to Studio Services. Now that's if you want to test it in play solo, but you don't have to do that if you want to test it in game, like me. So we're going to head into Roblox now, test this game out, see if the shop works, see if it saves my data. Let's hope that it does. And that shall be the end of this video. One thing that we need to quickly fix, which I found earlier on, before we go and test this out, you need to go into the local script and you need to make sure that over here where we've got player.character.humanoid, that you just say wait for child, and then we put the humanoid in these brackets, just so that the humanoid, we can wait for it to be loaded into the game before we start working with it. So go ahead and publish your game and let's go ahead and check it out. So I'm in the game and we're going to walk up to our good friend Nako, who's going to give us the shop, and you can see we're in here. The back button is disabled and we can click forwards and go forwards and backwards. So that's all good, the camera's working perfectly. So let's go ahead and try and buy an item now. And you can see it's equipped. And we can try buy another item. And that one's equipped now. And we can go back and equip other items, get our superpower drill. So you can see the equipping works perfectly fine. So we've got the epic power drill. I'm going to exit the shop. And I've got my drill over here. And go back into the shop if I wanted to change that. So I'm currently got the epic power drill equipped, and if I try and click it multiple times, nothing happens. And we can equip the better power drill now, and there we go, we've got our better power drill. And you can see the money is being taken from my balance when we're buying all of these different drills. So now let's go ahead, check the output and see what's being reported by saying console. And here we go. So you can see it's printing out every time we are looking at a new item. It's printing out all the information from that table. But let me go and leave the game and let's see if our data gets saved. So I'm currently on, let's have a look, 2,800 cash, and I've got the better power drill. Now let's go ahead and leave the game. Now I'm going back into the game, and you can see our data did not save for some reason. So let's go ahead and work out why that did not happen. So I'm back here in the game and you can see that my data has successfully been saved. However, the cache has not saved. Now that's because we didn't actually script the cache to save, but I will show you how to do that later on at the end of the video. But you can see we've got the better power drill still, and that was the item that we left the game with. Let's go back to Nako and go back into the shop. And if we go over to the epic power drill, it says that it's equipped. And you can see that we have the ability to equip all of these other tools. We do not have to buy them anymore because it has remembered and saved that we bought them all. So there we go. We have our mining simulator shop working perfectly, just how we want it to be. Totally filtering enable compliant, saves the data, and it works 100%. Just awesome. So that is the end of this tutorial on how to make a mining simulator shop. Now, if you want to learn how to save your cash in-game, then don't worry, because I did a video on how to make a currency system just like the one we've done, and also how to save it. I'm going to leave a card to that video, which you can go and check that out in the top right corner of the screen. I'm also going to leave links down in the description to that. I'm going to leave links to all of my plugins that you can use to install because they really do help with Roblox development. And I'm also going to leave the code in the description for this video so you can take it if it doesn't work for you. I'm also going to give you a copy of this game and all of the objects which you need to put into the game, as well as a little tutorial, a written guide, how to insert this into your game. And that is everything. So thank you for watching this series. It has been a very, very long day of recording. I have spent all day recording this video. You can see on the bottom left corner of my screen, I have been recording this video for over 6 hours. I've been planning it for many weeks, making sure that everything works seamlessly. There's a lot of scripts that come together in this tutorial, bug fixing, making the code much better. I've put a lot of work into this, so I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel, like the video, and share it with anyone else who you think would like to make a Roblox Mining Simulator Shop just like this one. So hope you enjoyed it. If your code doesn't work for some reason, then please do try the code in the description. Try to debug it yourself. I've tried to make this as easy as possible to copy out and explain. Hope you learned something from it. Make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, be notified when I upload a new video. And this is AlvinBlox telling you to keep scripting.